Hi everyone, it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets and welcome to another Sketch Sunday. So this week's sketch, again, comes to us from My Favorite Things. This is what the sketch looks like. And we're going to be using two MFT products. One is the new Just Beclaws, and I'm going to be using the smaller crab and have a Clawsome Day sentiment. And then I'm also going to be using some of the dies from the Beach Scene Builder. So I have already stamped and cut out on my brother's Scan and Cut the crab, and I want to show you guys. This is without the border around it, and look at how close it got in those little crabby legs. So I think it did an awesome job. You can leave that little white border like if you were using a regular die. I just chose not to because I wanted him to look kind of like he was just really in the sand and no lines around him. So I did that. I cut that out of there. And then I used the Beach Scene. So this can be water, or one side's water and one side could be sand, and you could use it either way, and it fits perfectly across an A2 4¼ by 5½ size card. I've cut everything out of white cardstock so that we can use distress inks and some Copic markers to color. And then this is the sun, so I cut that out again from white cardstock. And we're going to be doing a lot of ink blending with the distress inks. So I did a side folding card because I already had this cut out and it was already to the size. So I figured that we would just do a side folding card today. So we're going to do some inking on this to represent like a sunset. So let's first get started with some of these pieces. We're going to be using mustard seed for the sun, because I wanted it to look like there was, the sun was actually setting. So I think we're going to use this, and then probably some of the spiced marmalade, which is what we're going to be also be using for the background. So one of the most important things to do when you're doing this ink blending on a craft mat is to have a baby wipe or something else to wipe off the excess, because what I found out is that I don't pay attention and the colors will blend. So this one is a dry baby cloth, so I'm just going to try to use my cup of water just so that I don't get it too wet. So here's the sun. We're going to wait until we see how it looks up against the background, because I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go in the background. And then the next thing I'm going to do is take my little crab and start to color him. So I'm going to use my lightest color first, which is R14. I just tend to color all over the crab, and then I go back in with my darker markers and fill in any spots that would be highlighted. I'm not fantastic at Copic coloring. Let me put this over to the side. Let me kind of show you over here. There's not really much you're going to be able to see with this Copic coloring, but I tend to use the lightest first. I know not everybody does. Some people go through and do the outlines first, so like the darkest areas. Sometimes it's actually easier to cut this out afterwards, but for the sake of the video, I wanted to cut this out before, because this is the second or third cut I've ever made with my brother's Scan and Cut. So I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it on video, and I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to get it right. It did take me a couple tries to remember exactly how to do it. I watched a couple of YouTube videos, and I have not really done anything except for cutting things out. Right, so now we're going to use R27, which is a little bit darker, and we're going to go in and just color in most of the crab, leaving like the center part and some of the parts of the claws. And you can just go back in for, it's like distress inks, you just go back in and color the layers. I'll leave the ends of his claws the lightest, and I colored a little bit outside of the lines. Now I'm going to go in with the darkest, which is R46. And kind of just darken some of this up. I generally don't have a game plan when I go in with my Copic markers. at all. I just kind of do what I think would look good and hope that it comes out okay. I actually did a Superman yesterday, which I was so happy with. If you go over to my Instagram, you'll see on this on my page the card that I did. One of my friend's sons turned 3, so I went to his 3rd birthday party yesterday, and it was superheroes theme, so I made him a Superman card, and I think it came out awesome. So, I actually think I'm going to go back in with the mid-tone and kind of blend this out a little bit more. So I'm using really thin cardstock, not the better kind. So I'm trying not to go over this too much because it doesn't take marker that well. So here is the little crabby. And then the last thing that I think I'm going to do is, if I can find it, I usually take the gray, and which this is N0, and just kind of color in the eyes just a little bit. Oops, I forgot the little line up to his eye. Just to give it a little bit more, just to give it a little bit of dimension, but you can't really see. Okay, so that's it for the crab. And now we're going to start to, excuse me, we're going to start to do the water and the sand. So the bottom piece, the larger piece I'm going to do is sand, and we're going to be using tea-dye distress ink as well as antique linen, I think. So I have not done sand in a really long time, so we're just going to see how this goes. Now, antique linen is super, super light, and this is an old antique linen. Like, this is probably actually kind of dried out. So we'll see how this goes. I also have brought in a Copic marker. Now, I'm not really sure if Copic markers can go over distress inks, so we're only probably going to do a little bit of detail with that. I don't want to ruin my Copic markers, especially since they are super, super expensive, and I don't want to have to replace any of them. So this is just going to be the beachy part where the crab is going to sit. And I think that I'm also going to use the Copic marker right underneath of where the crab is, to kind of give a little bit of shadow onto the beach. So I kind of like that. It kind of looks a little like sand. I'm really loving the distress inks again. I put them away for a little while, haven't really been using them. My sister had actually asked me to make baseball gloves and a baseball or a couple of baseballs for a guy that she used to work with that was either retiring or was leaving, and they were putting together a basket for him. I believe he was the baseball coach. And I did the cutouts, and I thought they looked kind of boring, so I took some distress ink and inked them up, and they really did look like leather. I used this tea dye, and then I also used, what other color would I have used? Frayed burlap, or vintage photo, I think that was it. And I really, really liked the way that it came out. So it's actually what's on here. So I'm going to wipe a little bit of this off and just go over the top where this would actually meet the water to kind of like give it a little bit of a shadow. I don't want to use too much of this because I actually like the way the beach is kind of coming out. So I'm trying not to be too heavy-handed. I generally am when I do distress ink, and then I get really mad at myself because I put too much on, or you see the circle sponge. It was worse when they had the rectangle sponges. I would get lines all the time. With these, it's a little bit better. So I think that looks pretty good for the sand right now. I'm going to hold off on doing anything else. If we have to go back in after we put all the water together with the sand, I'll go back in. So I think that looks really good right now. So now we're going to use a couple colors of distress ink in blue. We're going to use Salty Ocean because it's the ocean, and we're also going to use Broken China. So I think I'm going to use Broken China first because It looks like it's the lighter color of the two. And now I think I may have accidentally gotten these mixed up, the foam pads mixed up. They're kind of a close color. So, I don't know. I also brought peacock feathers. I don't know if I'm going to use that or not. I just thought that it was it's a really pretty bluish green. So I thought maybe that could go nicely with some of these blues that I'm putting in here. Kind of make it more of like a tropical ocean. So let's see. So the water goes in like this, and I kind of want to have it lighter by the water, so like where the water would be going into the beach. So I'm going to take some of the salty ocean, and we're going to come in, yeah, it's a lot darker. We're going to go in with it a lot darker up here. Let's make the water that's out there further. Just putting these over to the side so I don't ruin them, because inevitably I will. So I just kind of want to stay away from that edge. I just want to kind of blend it out just a little bit to make it look darker on the horizon and lighter as we get closer to the beach. Now the beach has that like white ruffle when it comes in. That's kind of what I'm trying to go for. I probably should have left a little bit more white, but at this point, what's done is done. Just trying to blend the colors out a little bit more evenly. I could probably come back in with some white distress ink and take the white and go over this. But for right now, I think this is pretty good, because I don't want this video to be super, super long, and it's really not about the techniques, or it's really not about the colors, it's more about the techniques, how to do that. So putting this out a little bit more. Okay, so we'll see how that looks together. So cute. So here is the beach and the ocean. So I'm going to put that over here also with the sun so that I do not get anything mixed up. And I'm actually going to take a baby wipe, a new baby wipe, and start wiping this mat down. And then because we're going to do the back piece, or the sky for the background. I'm going to try to just wipe some of this off on my hands. Paper towel. I have random paper towels and things around here. Okay, so I'm going to hold off on this. And then what I want to do is I want to just kind of make sure that I'm not getting anything onto the back of the cardstock. Okay, I have a little bit here. Just a little bit of blue here. Okay, so the colors for the background were inspired by a picture that I found off of Google, and let me see if I can find it real quick. So there's purple, pink, and then orange, and then yellow. So we're going to start off with some Dusty Concord at the top, and I think I'm going to kind of have the colors kind of arching around here. So first I'm going to take this out until I get closer to the edge. So sorry guys, I know you can't see what I'm doing. So this is the way I'm going to create this guy. The sky also looks like it has a little bit of black, maybe black soot at the top. So I may add that in there. I don't know yet. Don't know how much of this you're actually going to be able to see. I don't want to go too far. I think I've already gone too far down. I have to go back in and add some pink to it. So we're just kind of going to go this. We're definitely going to be going over this with some pink. So the next one we're going to do is picked raspberry. We're going to do the same type of thing, but I'm actually going to blend it more up a lot more. So we're going to be blending it think we're going to have like maybe an earlier night sky than what they have in that picture. Oh, my blending foam is on it's a bad blending foam. I'm going to need to get a new one for this picked raspberry. I have a bunch of extras, but... And again, the nice part about the distress inks is you can go back in and blend them all together until you get a look that you like. See, and you can tell from here that there are a lot of the circles in there, which I don't like. I'm going to try to see if I can go back in and smooth that out. And I just put more in there as I was saying that I was going to try to smooth it out. So let's see if I can go back in and blend some of this out. I make mistakes all the time when I'm inking things up. So let's just see right now how this looks. We're going to just keep going. The next color will be Spiced Marmalade. I'm going to try coming in from this side. This is probably more of the color I should have done. I should have used some of this. I've kind of gotten rid of the pink. I kind of took a little bit too much of the pink out of there. And again, back and forth until you get a blend that you like. There's really not much of the pink left in here because I've overlapped it a little bit too much. So I could either keep going with the piece, and let's see how much further I have to go down to do this. I actually think, wow, it's pretty good. I actually don't even need any of the yellow. We're probably just going to kind of do this. Don't love the way the sky looks. I feel like it's kind of too harsh, so I'm going to go back in with some of the pink and try to get some of that pink back in here. Maybe start blending it out into... The bottom's okay. I'm not even going to worry about the bottom. I'm just going to worry about this middle piece right here. And if the back of this gets too inked up, I'll probably just cut it off and put it on another card base. So again, just going back and forth. So we were going to use Squeeze Lemonade, was going to be the yellow color. You don't have to worry about contaminating your distress inks. They easily tap off a different color. If you get a different color on it, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so here is the sky. Let's put all the lids back on the distress inks, put them off to the side, and let's work with what we have here. So I'm going to put this down and just make sure that for the last time, I really like the way that all of this looks before I glue it all down with the sun and the crab. And then we're also going to put the sentiment down at the bottom. So before I glue anything down, I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to stamp the little piece. So if you guys saw my haul video, the Misty bar magnet that came with it was a little dented. The package came open. I did ask MFT about that, and they said they didn't have anybody return anything, so they don't know how it could have possibly gotten damaged. But it works perfectly. It is a super, super strong magnet. So I'm going to put another one. This is the Tonic Studios Tim Holtz stamp positioner or stamp press, whatever. I never say it right. I never know what name to call it. And we're going to use the same black ink that I used to stamp the crab, and this is Extreme Black, My Favorite Things Hybrid Ink. And I just got a bunch of that, and usually this is what happens. I get a bunch of it on the stamp press, super easy to clean off. The nice part about using one of these stamp presses is if you don't get a great impression the first time, it is super easy. Like this isn't dark enough for me. Super easy to go back in and stamp the sentiment again. And again, I got more black ink on there, and it stamps in the exact same spot. Have a Clawsome day. It's super cute. They have the most adorable sentiments. See, this magnet is like super strong. Doesn't want to give me my paper back. So cute. Okay. So the last thing that I think that I want to do, I'm just going to put this in here so it doesn't get on the bottom so I can clean it later, is I want to go in and put a little bit of dots in the sand. And I definitely want to have where the crab is, I want to have like a little shadow underneath him. So I think what I'm also going to do is I'm going to take the darker distress ink, which is the tea dye. Let's see if I can go back in, kind of put it like right where the crab is too. Like on some of these dots. I almost want to blend the dots out just a little bit. Not so sure I love them, but I've already committed, so. You know, sometimes they say, just leave it alone. Yeah, I can't do that. I probably should have. And yet I'm continuing to put more dots all over the sand. I'm just going to go back in with some tea dye and kind of I tried to get a little bit of texture into the sand, and I don't know that I like it. I think I liked it before, but we'll just go with it. Maybe once it all comes together, it'll make more sense. Okay, so we're going to use the Zig 2-way glue pen. This is the large one. I got this like a week or so ago. This is only like the second or third time I've used it. We used it when we made my friend's son's banners and any other decorations that we made for his party yesterday when she was over a couple weeks ago. We've really kind of just been doing birthday and friend crafts, so I haven't really done much of anything else. So there it is. Okay, so now I am going to do the same thing. I can't find my regular ATG gun, the one that you can use for everyday, the general purpose one. I only have the other one, so I don't know what happened to it. It's got to be in my craft room somewhere because it did not walk away. I just don't know where it is. So I've been using, so I feel like I'm going to be using this Zig pen a lot. Okay. And then I think what I want to do is I kind of want to put a little bit, just a teeny tiny bit, and again, I might be mad at myself at the end for doing this, of orange around the sun, because I can't leave well enough alone. I just wanted to give it a little bit of definition and make it look a little bit more round and like it was coming out of the sky. Okay, we're going to put this on. sun like setting in the sky. So here is the final card. Have a Clawsome day. I think it's super, super cute. Here is the sketch. I know that we didn't do, like this here is the sun, that would be the crab, and then there's one little thing under there. I'm just not going to use that. There's nothing else that I really wanted to add. So here's the card. I think it came out actually really cute. I kind of do like the dots in the sand. I think that I should probably have done them a little bit better, better spaced out or something like that. But overall, it's not bad. I like the white, how, you know, it kind of looks like it's fading off the white line and the water is darker there, and then the actual horizon. I actually kind of like the back. I don't love the top here, but I like the way the rest of this looks with just that little bit of pink there. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them below, or send me a message, a DM. And I will see you guys again real soon for another project video. Bye!